recognizing my role as human first and leader second. And then also my team are human first and everything else second.
Welcome to Connected Conversations. I am Elena Petrova, founder and CEO of Adastra Inc. Tune in as we share inspiring stories, connect with local heroes, and discover solutions that uplift us. Welcome to Connected Conversations. We are in LA today, and I have Mae Brunson. We are back to conversations about community, technology, and the world that has never been so lonely, yet connected at the same time. So, Lisa, today we are going to be talking about, a lot of projects that you build, the whole infrastructure that you build. But before we go there, before we talked about Wonder Woman tech, let's take me to that room where there was a lot of signals about belonging. Take me to that room before it all started, where you felt that you did not belong.
Yeah.
How did it feel? What did you learn there that helped you to build this community that you have today?
Well, first of all, it starts from my childhood, being born and raised in New Mexico. My mother is indigenous and Mexican, and my dad is Black. And so being multiracial in a place where it was predominantly Hispanic and a lot of white humans, it was a military town. I was bullied from the time I was in kindergarten until 6th grade when I started learning how to fight back. But we were poor. We grew up in a trailer park. And so I was always othered and always feeling like I didn't belong. Like I wasn't Black enough. I wasn't Latina enough. I definitely wasn't white enough. And so I always had this sense of who am I? Where am I? Why am I? And I pretty much carried that into my teenage years as I was learning how to navigate school and, dealing with racism and discrimination, including in school, like teachers treating me differently and not giving me a fair shake at the world. I was interested in science and I wanted to be an astronaut. The cool thing about New Mexico is we have the Space Hall of Fame. Grew up in White Sands, Alamogordo. And so I grew up going to the Space Hall of Fame, looking up at the stars and wanting to be among them, but not having any peers or anybody to look up to, no role models, and no kind of mentors that could tell me, like, you could be all of these things or do all of these things. You belong here. And so I always bumbled along trying to find what that room looks like for me. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, always feeling othered, always feeling like this is not quite the fit for me. And that lasted even when I moved here to Los Angeles in 1999 with 2 suitcases and $20 on a Greyhound bus, trying to find myself. It was literally, I'm the oldest of 6, but 5 growing up. So my identity was wrapped in being the oldest, being the caretaker, being the maternal figure. And so I wanted to find myself. And so I came to California trying to figure out who I am, where do I belong, and why am I here? And so really it started from just birth, like the circumstances that I experienced as a child.
You have this ritual hugs, and I experienced that in DC when we got together. Thank you for inviting me to your event. So and I was looking, so at the moment you have 13,000 hugs.
Well, it's more than that. I
now
need to update
it's more.
the website.
How many of them
much
now?
more. Yeah, it's closer to over 20,000 people that I've hugged since 2008, 2007 technically.
So tell me about this. How did it start, and what does hug do that conversation cannot do?
Ooh, I really love that question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question in the context of the Love Hugs and Inspiration campaign that I launched. It really came about, going back to that sense of belonging and community and feeling loved. Um, I left my family, like I mentioned, and was living in California, and my family was kind of pretty spread out. And I was on a phone call just connecting with my mom and my sister, and discovered that we talked about hugs, like they hadn't been hugged in so long, and my family members were crying, like aching for human connection. And I was aching too. And so I hopped in my car, drove all the way from California, Bay Area. I lived in the Bay Area at the time, to New Mexico and Texas to hug my family members. And it was like that embrace that I didn't know I missed. Like, wow, it's a feeling of coming home, and it's a feeling of connectedness like you can't manufacture. And so when I came back, I was like, God, that's like so powerful, like that human touch. And so I decided, well, I'm going to go hug people. Like, I don't know how many people decide they're going to hug a bunch of strangers, but um, I decided to do that. And at the time, I was a poet. Well, I still am, I guess, in some ways, but I wrote a lot of poetry at the time. And so I self-published a poetry book. I worked for a printer, and he let me print up. First, there was 7,000 copies, and so that's how I was able to track the first 7,000 hugs, because I gave them all out. Um, and I started in Santa Monica Promenade, and I committed to 4 weeks in a row, 4 weekends in a row, and I'll never do that again. But what I learned was people wanted to be hugged. And I understood a lot about the human condition in that experience, because I got to learn, like, over time, like, when you're doing it week after week after week, you're like, oh, I know the kind of people that are going to come up and get a hug, like, quickly, and then those that are weary but then might come back later, and then those that will absolutely not do it. I started to be able to read people in a way that I don't think I could have just, like, walking down the street be able to do. Um, and so what happened was, when you're in this intimate embrace with people and they become vulnerable, they start to tell you their stories. They're telling you, like, oh, I haven't been hugged in this long. Oh, the last time I was hugged was when my mom was alive. Or I don't even remember, like, what this felt like. Thank you. Or there were homeless people that were like, you would hug me? Like, nobody even wants to talk to me. Like, why would you hug a stranger? You know what I mean? So I learned a lot about humans in that way, and just understanding that there was a kind of bravery that exists, not just with me, because it was definitely courageous, like standing out there with signs, right, saying like free hugs and passing out poetry, but also it was courageous on the other person's part to be able to, like, take the challenge and come up and hug a stranger and then share their experience. But over time, there was people that came weekend after weekend to come get a hug.
You're giving me some emotions right now. I feel it right now myself. Yeah. It's like, if you learned a lot and you're sharing right now with us, thank you for this. And we are talking about human connection right now. Was there something that you felt people had in common during that journey? What was that people had in common?
That people crave human connection, and that, at the end of the day, love is so important, love between humans, that sense of humanity, which I think is very much needed right now.
Yes.
But, I remember one time I was at Arizona State University, and a student came up and said they didn't even know what a hug was. Like, true story. They were like, I don't think I've ever been hugged. How do you do it? And I'm like, I mean, I was kind of shocked. Like that's the most shocking like experience that I've had on this journey was someone saying they did not know how to hug. And so I was like, well, you just like kind of open up your arms and you come in and you naturally like hug, you naturally embrace. And they were kind of like standing there going like this and like awkwardly like putting their hands out. And it was like, and I just grabbed them and hugged them. And they just kind of froze a little bit and then went slack and like leaned into the hug very hard, and then walked off without a word, like just kept going. But what I realized was, I bet that was healing.
When you were coming home after this experience, what you were feeling at home?
Well, the first 4 weeks were very hard on me, on my immune system and everything, because it's like you're exchanging energy, you're exchanging connection with other humans. So as an empath, I definitely was like, I'm not doing this again. But after I'd had time to reflect, I was like, I am absolutely going to keep this going. Like this, like the world needs more love and hugs and inspiration. And more importantly, I needed it. So it was like, oh, I'm doing this service for the world. No, I was actually doing it for me, like to remind myself that human connection was important. There was no, what I love most about this experience, and I continue to do it, by the way, is that there's no judgment. There's no like, you're black, I'm white, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's no barrier to entry. I mean, kids were running up,
Right.
and oh my God, like they're, we all have preconceived notions. We all have unconscious bias. We do. It's part of the human experience. And so there's some times where I would be like, oh, they're never gonna hug me. Like they look buttoned up, and they're not gonna let their kid come running out. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm making a judgment call, and they will surprise me by like the whole family hugging me at once and having their little kid run out the stroller to come running and grab a hug from me. Like I learned to challenge my own unconscious bias about who I thought would want to even be near me or hug me. So it's definitely an experience. Now I do them more during the holidays. I write handwritten holiday cards, and I'll go out and hug people and hand them cards that say I believe in you or go after your dreams. And it's a different kind of a vibe during the holidays because I think everybody's like jovial and like in a mood. But all in all, it's the human spirit that's captured.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So let's go back and talk a little bit about your events. For someone who's never been to Wonder Woman Tech, for someone who hasn't had this conversation or feeling, so let's talk about the person who come to the event and felt like, how does it feel that you realize you come to the room, and I know that you discuss those at your events, who come to the event and just feel that, okay, I don't belong here. This room is close to me. What?
So, like, Wonder Woman Tech, you're not going to feel that.
Right.
I think a lot of conference experiences or summits, when people go to like especially tech conferences, I know I've been to many, it feels cold, it feels stark, it feels very like, one hall after another, after one session after another. It's like very businessy, it's very like intimidating. I've been in rooms where very male dominated, definitely more of a white population. So I'm often one of few people of color in those spaces and in like your typical tech conferences. I've been like, when it's networking time, and I've had people literally turn their backs on me, men and women alike, like legitimately turn their back and I'm still talking. Or dismiss what I have to say, despite, I've even been the speaker, the invited guest, or the person leading a session and been dismissed. And so I learned over time that that's not just my experience, that's thousands of others experience as well. And so, I hated conferences. I still don't love them. So being the founder of an organization that produces like multiple conferences over the last 10 years, this is our 11th year. I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that. So I'm very intentional about making sure that the spaces that I build and the community that I curate, the programming that I design intentionally, meaningfully, ensures that no one feels like that you're not going to come into a session and feel like, what the heck am I doing here? Or I'm in a room that I don't see myself in. Like, I'm the only in the room. I don't want that to happen. And so designing Wonder Women Tech and the conferences and the summits we've done, more recently, the Future Forward Summits, which you came to in DC, I want to make sure that it's very thoughtful and intentional, and that not only do you feel like you belong, but that you have the ability to contribute to. Like it's a universe, and what I'm calling the Wonderverse. It's a place where we are co-creating together. And so that's like something that I've infused from day one. I've gone to the community to ask what they need and what they want and what they're looking for. I co-designed since literally day one. We curated one of the largest deaf and tech community, and I had deaf innovators in my living room telling me, this is what we need, this is how we feel, this is how we've been dismissed, this is where we've been excluded, this is what we need. And so I'm like, okay, let's build it. And so from year 2, we started having our Deaf and STEAM events.
And I want to put a pause on it, because
Yeah.
I want to come back to
Okay.
it. This
Yeah.
story is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I really want to come and speak about this. But before we go there, I want to say that I've been to these events. I experienced it firsthand. If you do have an opportunity, please do participate, because I came there as a guest, and all of a sudden I had the microphone and I had like all the lights on me, and I was turned into the participant
You
of
were.
the event. So
And I have to say also, what I loved about you, I was talking to somebody yesterday about you and saying, like, if ever there was an award for like the most interested participatory guest, it was you. Like, you sat in the front row
Thank
and
you.
watched every session. I don't even think I saw you take a break. You were there for everything, and I loved that. Like, you being in the audience and being so engaged inspired me, as a creator, to say, like, I got it right.
You
Like,
do, and that's the reason why I think that if you want to be a part of something, you really create it. And again, like, I want to go back, because what I want this conversation today is to be about how the rest of the communities can
Yeah.
learn from you, because belonging is built, it's not found. You have to design it, and it has to be designed by people who were locked out, and you were, and then you came back. You were not just sitting there in the corner being upset. You came back strong, and you built something for the people like you who have to be a part of this conversation, and we need to learn from you. So let's take a look at what you have done for the past. You started it back in 2015.
Yeah, originally I was the founder of a hackathon called Hacks for Humanity, which I did at ASU, and that spawned Wonder Women Tech. Well, Wonder Women Hacks, which was a hackathon, and then Wonder Women Tech was born out of that.
So you call yourself social innovation architect. I love the word architect here, because if we are going to say architect, we mean that you build a blueprint.
Yes.
And if you build blueprint, what is the first item, what is the first ingredient that you put in that blueprint when you start building it?
Well, the first thing that I would say There's a lot of people that build things. Maybe it's because it's the hottest thing to do. Oh, AI. So let's build an AI thing. Or it's on trend, or there's money in the pot. So let's go do that. So a lot of people build from a place of like, it's a commodity. And I built from a place of purpose and ethos and understanding like my North Star, and this is why, and this is I need to build this because I know that I am the person to build this. And so it's understanding your North Star. Like, why are you building the thing? And it's okay if you're building the hot commodity. AI is cool. So then find your North Star within that, because the thing is that sustainable vision relies on that purpose and that passion and that North Star. So the first thing in the blueprint is like understanding. It's not even just about why. It's like what the deep inner drive of your North Star. Like, what's gonna keep you going when the currents are rough, because 100% it will happen. 100% you will run up against challenges, and 100% you're going to have to figure out if you're capable of continuing to move forward. So that would be the first thing, like having your North Star, knowing your purpose. I'm building this because I am the person to build this thing.
Yes.
And infuse my magic into the thing. This is my thing that I want to bring out into the world, even if it is a hot, cool, video game or whatever.
And from what I see, that you have this expression, which I love very much, field is asking.
Yeah.
And it goes back again, that conference, like it all started when you were asked to build the conference,
yes.
Again back in 2015, that the Wonder Woman tag came from, right? You didn't know how to do it, so you feel
zero idea.
Right.
How to do a conference.
And you're still doing that, right? So that feel is asking, that's sort of your motto.
Yes.
When you do this feel is asking, I'm sure you're getting a lot of no's.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are, like, if you are to put those buckets to that no, what people say no to you the most?
Well, first of all, I mean, fearless asking, the art of fearless asking is being able to ask for what you need and what you want to build your thing, period. And so that's like stepping outside of your comfort zone and asking for the funding, or asking for a venue, or asking for product, or asking for whatever it is, people to raise their hand and volunteer while you build. I think Elon Musk, I hate him, but he was like sleeping on a couch until he built a thing, and now he's a trillionaire. And you have to think about like the people that are willing to sacrifice and do the big asks and the small asks. When I first started, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. Oftentimes I still don't, like the next big thing I do, I still don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just like asking, right? And people will say no. And I've learned to have a tough skin, because you're going to hear no more than you're going to hear yes. I think it shifts and changes with the industry and with the times around like what I'm getting the most no's from. I think in the beginning, it was much easier to get actually funding and opportunity in the beginning. So my no's were more like, yes to the money, like money is number one. But then because I wanted to build a conference, you want like getting exhibitors, getting swag bag items, like those things, like people were saying no to, or even just like, hey, can you mentor me? I actually had a lot of people in the beginning of my career. I had no mentors until maybe 2018. So 4 years into building, did I have my first mentor? And I was asking people, like, would you be willing? Can I pick your brain? And it was like, no.
I'm curious why they were saying no.
I don't know. Like, I mean, granted, and it's a theory, these humans were not Black, or, maybe they felt like, oh, you should be talking to somebody that's Black that could understand your plight. I don't know, because oftentimes I would look up to folks being in tech, there's a lot of men, right?
Right.
And lack of people of color, especially, in 2014, 2015, 2016. All of the people I was talking to was like the Googles of the world. It was Microsoft. It was all of these like high tech men. And I would ask them, because, at that time they were saying, your male allies, talk to them. That was the advice that I got. But they were not wanting to talk to me unless it was
Yeah.
over drinks. But
Right. Yeah.
but like, picking your brain, it was just not going to happen. So I still had to bumble along for 4 or 5 years. And then as time progressed, I'm actually shocked by how many no's I'm getting after proof of concept, after over 10 years of building, after international success and awards. I'm getting more no's than I've ever gotten. And that's another conversation. I mean, it's centered around the dismantling of DEI, which I didn't even know my work was DEI until Google told me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're in the DEI bucket. Let's pass you over to that, team, and that's that budget. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And I'm like Googling to find out what it is. But like, that's where, the no's come in all sorts of packages. Whether it was, can you advise me? Can you support me? Can you fund me? Can you give me a venue? It comes with the territory.
And yet you kept going.
Oh yeah, I'm stubborn. I mean, listen, if I came out here, like I said, by myself, not even an adult yet, to carve a way for myself. And I grew up like literally hunting for food, like for my family, because we were that poor, like homeless even. I was homeless at times. I went through a lot, and I'm going to be coming out with some more like secrets or experiences I had as a child soon on LinkedIn. I'm going to start talking about these things more. I'm a thriver. I've come out of some very hard things. Economic and political challenges are a drop in the bucket for me at this point. But it sucks. Don't get me wrong. It's devastated me and my organization.
So you were born hard of hearing,
Yes.
and now you're working with this community. You're also working with kids, and you created camp, Storm, teaching the kids from this community technology. You created that room, that belonging room for the kids, students. So I'm curious again. So you build it coming from that community yourself. Now, what did you learn about other rooms that might be calling themselves accessible?
Yeah. Well, first of all, yes, I was born hard of hearing, but like for me, it just was a thing. As I mentioned in New Mexico, like I just lived with it. Like if I asked people to repeat themselves, they would roll their eyes and either repeat themselves or not. Like it was my reality. I didn't know anything differently. But then when I first started Wonder Woman Tech, my brand designer was a CODA, or is a CODA, child of deaf adults. And then Bethany was actually very instrumental in like helping me understand the larger challenges that deaf and hard of hearing humans have in the workforce and in tech and in the arts, media. And so learning more about this community that I didn't feel part of it until I started curating spaces for deaf and hard of hearing humans in my work. And so I, as I mentioned earlier, I had a town hall in my living room where I asked some of Bethany's friends and some of my speakers and stuff. We had like multiple sessions for deaf and tech and deaf and media at our Wonder Woman Tech conferences over the years. And so I invited them over and wanted to learn from them. Well, one of the biggest things that came out of these conversations was deaf humans were perceived as also not being intelligent.
Yeah.
Or that saying deaf and dumb from the 50s, 60s, like that terminology came from because these humans have a different ability to communicate that clearly they have lack of comprehension. And I cried when I learned that because I was like, what? And that was another reason why I was like, I'm doubling down on this because there are some like intelligent, amazing humans, right? And so when I started looking at the workforce and talking to like Amazon or like my Fortune 500 company partners about hiring deaf talent, one thing I learned was they were not set up for hiring. Like they were more apt to hire someone with a physical disability or maybe even who was neurodiverse on the spectrum than they were for deaf humans. Still to this day.
Yes, absolutely. You're
Yeah.
right.
So accessibility, I don't think that there's really a lot of companies that are truly accessible and set up in a way that allows them to hire talent from all backgrounds and all like walks of life. I don't think that there is a company that's not already like deaf founded or deaf inclusive, right? Like that is set up for that kind of workforce environment.
Yes. There is a lot of data I cannot, like, off my mind, and the data probably also changing, but
I don't think any of my deaf innovators were ever hired at any of our career fairs. I mean, the other sad truth about all this is like, I never had a single sponsor for my ASL for interpreting. Never. I had to use my CODA friends. They did it. Volunteer. And I even tried to intentionally hey, like these humans matter. But no, we never had a single sponsor in 10 years. And that said something to me. You know, it frustrated me as being part of the community, but it also frustrated me that I had this community that I worked hard to build and to build trust in me and Wonder Women Tech get frustrated with me because we didn't have the right tools. Sometimes they couldn't go to all the sessions that we produced. Even our virtual sessions were difficult for them to attend to that were not closed captioned, or we didn't have interpreters for them. So like, yeah, I would say like one of the most marginalized communities for sure. I watch it, I see it. And I have the honor to be on the board for RIT, Rochester Institute for Technology, and their deaf and hard of hearing community specifically.
for technology, correct?
Yes, and I hire they're so short staffed that I end up overloaded with some of their deaf students as interns because they don't have anywhere to place them.
Right.
And so I end up, a lot of them are graphic designers, web designers. And so, yeah, and so then I'm overwhelmed because I say yes because I'm one of the few providers that will take on these amazingly talented students. So, yeah.
Thank you for, again, making sure that this community getting highlight.
Yeah. And now, just to say, like, it's easier than ever to hire deaf talent in terms of, like, especially from a remote place, because you do have closed caption on Zoom and all of these digital tools. So I invite people to think about how they're going to add to their workforce, take on some of these students at RIT, and enrich their lives in a meaningful way.
And let's go back to Wonder Woman in Tech. So within your community, tell me about. So let's talk about maybe one feature on one room that you created, and you're very proud of, and you can say that this is definitely something to stay, because this is sort of like the baby of your the baby of your work. You put it on and it's here to stay, and that is something that you would like to change if the money wouldn't be an issue.
One room?
Yeah, one room within your community or one feature within your conference.
Well, I think I'm very lucky and honored to now be an Obama leader.
Okay.
And in that leadership experience, because it was an experience, not a training, it's like an experience. It's a framework. We were given tools centered around pluralism, bridging the divide, like being able to talk across differences. And it's something that has shifted me forever, like to be able to say like all human, like that's true belonging, that's real belonging. And what I built before also was I standing in my own way by saying, oh, I can't have an ultra conservative person with an ultra liberal person on the same panel because there's going to be this like clash and like, you know what I mean? Like this tension that could get messy. And I decided to intentionally build for that to happen, for real inclusion to happen. You have to be willing to have people with differing opinions, differing backgrounds, different perspectives, different work experiences, different cultures, like all able to sit and inspire and talk and like engage in dialogue and interact with the audience and inform, educate. You know what I mean? You have to be able to have that at the table. And with my Future Forward summits, I'm designing for that. I mean, you were there in
I was
Washington,
there, and I
D.C.
have to say that that was one thing that I discussed with my community when I got back. I said I really enjoyed that part because in DC we have all
Yeah.
of it, right? And I did have people. You had it in the stage. You had people,
In the
and
room.
and you were very open about it. You said it's a safe place. You can say whatever you have on your mind, and we have people from all parties,
Yeah.
and we have people that support different way of technology approach,
Yep.
particularly an AI race,
Yep.
and people said things that they 100% disagreed on,
Yeah.
and it was a very productive
It was a
conversation.
very productive conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm proud of that. I'm going to continue to curate those kinds of conversations and those kinds of rooms and those kinds of stages. I think it's vital and important. And I think I have my own kind of magic that I bring to my work. And I say like people are like, for years, people are like, I feel like I'm in church. When I'm walking down the halls, like I feel like I'm in church. I feel like I'm in like at Agape, which is like this spiritual community here in LA. Or I feel like I'm like in some kind of meditative state. I've gotten that feedback all my career. And I have to say that I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I build from the heart. I build from my North Star. So and it's why I'm very much a part of the programming period. Just like people are, oh, I could take that on for, nope. Like this is my magic sauce. This is where I know like I shine is like being able to see humans. I pick every speaker, like being able to see every human, everything and say, okay, these people belong on a stage at the same time. This person needs to be there. You know what I mean? Like it's architecting.
Right.
It's architecting an experience. It's architecting a human connection that might not otherwise be there. I'll say that in DC is such a great case study. I had some folks that were ultra liberal and ultra conservative in the room and on stage, as we mentioned. But one of the guys came back. One of the panelists came back and was like, you know, that guy, I won't mention names, I'll protect people's identity, but he's like, he's not as conservative as he thought. He really has a heart, you know, like stuff like that, where it was like this feedback. Well, of course he has a heart, but like you have these like preconceived ideas of people who are different than you for being heartless or like not
Yes.
like disconnected from reality. You know what I mean? Like just take a look at social media and you'll see the conversations of what people think on all sides, right? Like they think the other people don't have a heart or don't care about humanity, but actually we do. Like everybody kind of has these, hopefully has these core elements of humanity within them. I've seen it, not just in the hugs, but on the stage. So that's what I built. That's what I'm proud of. And that's what I'm going to continue to build, is that space where all humans can show up, belong, and express.
And we need that, Lisa. It's one, in maybe one room or one feature within your conference or community you would change if money wouldn't be an issue?
That I would change? I mean, listen, if money wasn't an issue, I think it would give me the ability to really build to my heart's content, like some major show-stopping like event that Jay Shetty's at, or like, you know what I mean? Like these like really phenomenal thought leaders having a place where there's all this like nice swag and people can come out not just feeling inspired but like pampered and like, wow, this was like a formidable experience. I've had visions in my life of how I wanted to scale, and unfortunately the way I show up in the world, in this body, in this gender, in this identity, in this cultural identity, has prevented me from, it's created barriers to entry just all the way around. And funding is the biggest one of them. So if I had access to funding, it would be a whole other level of magic. I'm very proud of what I've been able to build in spite of, but I think that the sky's the limit and I'd be able to infuse even more. Definitely much more accessibility. The opportunity. One thing I've always wanted to have is a concierge specifically for humans with different abilities that want assistance, that want support, that need an extra level of navigating the space that we're all occupying. Because I've seen that where people have needed that before, where they're kind of bumbling along, not knowing, but having like a concierge with them to kind of support them. We've had volunteers do that, but it'd be great to have like a full service accessibility team that's just there for humans.
That would be a great way of connecting people. Let's talk about funding. That is an issue for many, but it's particularly, you had a lot of conversations about this. So white female counterparts definitely getting funding differently and probably more of it than you do. Would you like to share your experience?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that has frustrated me for many years, one, I've had peers around me, people that have loved and supported me over the years, not get it, not understand how hard of a struggle it's been for me to just get built what I've built. And I think they and maybe on an external level, my LinkedIn people maybe not understand just how hard it is. I'm sure of it. I've never worked harder than I've had in the last 2 years and received the least amount of funding ever in my entire career.
So
Even year one.
So you're saying that funding actually decreasing right now?
Oh, it's obliterated right now. We were removed. I can't even bid on federal contracts at all. Zero. We were removed when Elon Musk took over Doge. We literally were removed on a random Sunday. Like removed from the system and received an email saying that we were no longer eligible. So I can't even see contracts, can't bid on them. And before I could, since 2016. The Fortune 500 companies I worked with, they are, I'm not going to name names because I want to protect their identities, but they are top 5, top 10. Because they have federal contracts, they will not give us money because then they're perceived as contributing to DEI initiatives. So they will not fund us. They will not give us a check. But hey, you can use our space. You can't charge though. I can't even, so you can use our space, but you can't sell tickets. So basically I'm coming out of pocket to use your space. Yeah. I think one of the biggest shocks I've experienced in this career is like how many, you talk about no's. All I'm hearing is no. There are very few and far yeses. It's shocking and it's shattered the spirit for sure. Yesterday I had a board meeting and one of my board members was like, talked to me offline. He was like, one of my tech's in danger. You're in danger. And I said, I know. Because of the no's, because of the lack of funding. I have people that have said, I'm too afraid to like your posts on LinkedIn. True story. Multiple people, more than one, who have said, like, who work for the government or work for a company who is, who might be perceived as supporting our work. The conversation has shifted in such a drastic way I would have never, ever, ever, ever thought. It's part of the reason why I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to double down on Future Forward. I'm going to change our language. We changed our language. Actually, in 2022, we started moving away from DEI and diversity, equity, inclusion conversations. But, you can't even say belonging, not in grants. You can't say women. You can't say Black. And that's my identity, right? So like as a founder who embodies the keywords that are being stricken from funding opportunities, what are you left with? And so that's the stark reality that I think not enough people are talking about. It's like, oh, there's funding for everybody. No, there's not. Merit doesn't exist. I have an impeccable track record, right? Have won awards, have been international, and I can't get funding to save my life right now. So it's definitely a conversation worth having, and it's a conversation that I think companies need to ask themselves, like a deeper, harder conversation around what is their North Star. Like if in 2010 and 2012 and 2015, it was so important for you to have diverse workforce, but then suddenly it's not, then what do you stand for? What are you really investing in? Are you investing in talent based on trends, which I've seen, by the way, personally? I've seen it. I've been asked to cherry pick Black and Hispanic people, and now they're gone. So it's such a weird reality to be in, right? Like,
how do you know the difference? Because sometimes it feels like it's theater. Or how do you know the difference between theater and real?
I mean, I think the way that you can tell if somebody's fake or unintentional, right? Like,
right.
Your actions speak louder than words. Right now, it's all a show. It's bread and circuses. Like, people are kind of going with, the trends or what's politically viable at the time, which I think then says a lot about a company's integrity and an organization's integrity. Because I think at the end of the day, what do you want to be known for? Are you an organization that cares about your talent and your workforce? And the future isn't like the crazy thing about all this data backs this is that the workforce will be entirely diverse. Like, it's impossible that it will not be.
It will be, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so
this too shall pass.
It will pass, but
But what I'm saying is that
who gets
this
left
too
behind,
shall pass.
right?
So the question is how we are going to be looking at our children after all of it.
Well, one of the things that I have I've mentored hundreds of students, right? And I have a few interns right now. And one of them told me, it broke my heart. She was like, she's Asian. And she was like, I feel like I don't even know what I'm apathetic. I don't even know what I'm fighting for because it feels dismal and my peers feel the same way. It's like, what do we have to hope for if we have to fight for everything just to get a job? Or we're going to be considered a DEI hire because we got the job and you know what I mean? And I had nothing. It was like one of the few times that I had like no mentorship. I had nothing to say to her because I'm sitting inside of that same despair, right? Where I'm like, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, it's going to get better one day. The pendulum swings. We know that the pendulum will swing, but what is destroyed in the process? We've already lost a lot of women in tech and girls in tech organizations in the last 2-3 years. They're obliterated. The only reason why I'm hanging on is because I'm stubborn as hell, and I have an amazing volunteer team, leadership team that is rallying behind me. But other than that, like, we would be gone tomorrow. We would be gone tomorrow. And for me, you know, something that I just got done seeing the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago, and I was walking through and I had tears like streaming through my eyes, and I'm thinking about like that this is a love letter to humanity and democracy. And much like the hugs, like where you're just like having this human connectedness, I felt this sense of human connectedness in the people that came before me who were fighting for just rights of all humans. It wasn't about black or white or women or LGBTQ plus. It was like there were movements that mattered across all humans for every generation. That's what I walked away with, like understanding that hope exists because people decided to stand in the gap and keep building. And when I came out of it 4.5 hours later, I was like, girl, you're going to keep building because it's important and it matters. You know, for some people, it's like, oh, you did 10 years. That's a good job, Lisa Mae. You should be proud of yourself. Like, go on and move to the next thing. But as I mentioned before in that blueprint, I built this blueprint. This is my blueprint for me. This is my North Star. If I didn't build this, it'd be another iteration of exactly this. Like, it literally would be, because this is in my DNA. It's my blueprint. It's what I am building. And what I want to, it's not just what I'm building, it's what I want to build. And I think that in, you know, ego aside, because, you know, we all have ego, but I think the world needs this kind of magic and this kind of, the way that I build, the world needs this. It needs
Absolutely.
like this kind of lens and this sense of humanity and purpose that's all packaged together with the hugs, you know, and like is birthed out into the world.
Oh my gosh, you're getting me emotional right now. Let's go back to technology for a second because I want to ask you, because you are a chair on the Long Beach committee right now for...
I was the chair for the Commission for Technology and Innovation for the City of Long Beach, but I termed out last year.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because I wanted to follow up a little bit on the facial recognition
technology.
Yeah. So maybe we can talk a little bit for the time that you were there. Because again, talking about the technology that is being built and the work that that committee is doing.
Yeah.
Technically, it's all about people and inclusion of the people, but also technology. I'm going to pivot a little bit. Technology that includes people in technology that surveils people.
Yeah.
There's a line there. And
it's all technology, yeah.
Right. So a little bit of my question is again, how, because you were right there. You build technology all your life, and you just talk about the whole 10 years of you building technology and being included in the world of technology. But again, technology that includes people and technology that surveils people, because again, facial recognition, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So first of all, have you ever felt, you were on the both sides, so to speak. You probably were included in those conversations and the conversations of building technology. And there is a line there.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that this line moved under you?
Well, I mean, I think the conversation around technology, and in this case, FRTs or facial recognition technology, or technology that sort of monitors people, collects data of any kind, whether it's images or, information, there is a fine line between being useful and causing unintentional harm. And there's also a ethical component that companies who utilize this technology need to have, and they need to have guardrails in place, and they need to have ethical procedures, and there needs to be a supply chain within the building of this technology that also holds those same standards. And along the way, that doesn't happen. And so what we learned was, with regard to FRTs being utilized by the Long Beach Police Department and police departments in general, is that they were taking this technology and creating, profiles around humans that fit a specific demographic, in this case Hispanic and Black humans, that they were then sending over to ICE and saying like, hey, here's this person's genetic profile, here's their license plates, here's where they potentially live, here's who we think this person is, if they might have had a previous record, we found them, and then sending that over. And so they were directly targeting these, specifically Black and brown humans with this technology to create harm. And so that's where the line is drawn. It's like it's helpful if you're like, oh, we want to make sure that this person's paying their bill, and it's the person that's supposed to be at the ATM, right? And they didn't get, you know what I mean? So, or this person says who they say they are in the manner in which the technology is being utilized, the purported manner. So what was happening is that was not the case. And that can happen with all kinds of technology. AI, you're starting to see like collecting data, collecting intellectual property, and disseminating and using that information to build better technology. Like, that's wrong. And so like those are the kinds of things that I had the honor of working on, with my time there, and also just like thinking about how I want to contribute to those kinds of conversations at a national and global scale, being able to weigh in on the builders that build technology and innovation. How are you building with humanity in mind? Are you thinking ethically along the way? These are the considerations you should think about. This is how you should collect data. The commission also helped build the city of Long Beach's first data privacy guidelines. So we had a huge hand in that. And so like collecting data safely, educating the public on what data is being collected. A lot of people don't have any clue about their data, health.
What public should know?
Well, I mean, every time you sign on to Facebook and the data privacy guide, data privacy has been updated, you get those all the time. Every single week, every single month, you're probably getting something that's terms of service have been updated, right? And you're just automatically going, yes, okay, but what you're not recognizing or understanding or seeing is like in bold letters, they'll be like, we won't sell your data. But then in the fine print, it's like, unless. So like you're giving away your data and your privacy. And so, long story short, there's a problem with how we build. And if you look, all the biggest technology, who are they owned by? Not me, right? So, it starts to become like a David and Goliath thing where it's like, it's a beast. And the more that we advance technology without like specific guardrails in mind, the more that we cause unintentional harms. And, AI is unregulated right now. The White House issued a white paper, an AI recommendations in March, and I read it, and there was like really hardly any safeguards for children. They didn't give a crap about any of the like family access. There was a lot of unintentional harm in there, and it was all about enterprise. And so like the protecting of enterprise, being able to utilize AI, there's a lot of like self-interest in technology space as it pertains to big technology and big data. And so, those are also the conversations I bring into Future Forward summits. and the programming that I build, it's like bringing in the people that build ethically and having conversations about why it matters and how do you make AI more human. Like those are the kinds of conversations I like to dive into. But that's the a lot of that came out of my work, being with the commission for 8.5 years.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So a lot of my listeners intentionally want to build their organization with belonging, and they do things and they mean it, but people still leave. So a few things that maybe you can share with us starting next week or this week, what they should stop doing and what they should do more. What
Yeah.
they should okay, so let's say what should they do less and what they should do more if they want to create environment for their organization to have more belonging.
Yeah, a lot of my work has spawned what I call the wholeness of human, which I'm writing about. And it came from like being inside of different teams and like leading different teams and like recognizing my role as human first and leader second. And then also my team are human first and everything else second. And that really oh my God, that shifted everything for me to like recognize that my team, like staff, the people I hire for the even event people, like all that, like they're human first. And once I wrap my head around understanding that humans are flawed, they make mistakes, they have emotions, they have their own lives. They're probably walking and holding like deep things. I've been navigating grief. I've been public about that, like loss. And of course, this fiasco of being defunded and honoring the human in me and then recognizing, okay, now I'm a leader too. And so when you start to adopt that methodology in your environment, like recognizing that your team is like, yeah, like they should be getting their work done, but also they're humans. They've got kids to feed, or they've got their own challenges, and maybe they have health things that they don't even talk to you about, because the old ways were check your drama at the door and you come into work. That has shifted. The pandemic has created an environment where that will literally not hold. People will not stay there. They won't feel like they belong. They won't feel like they're being invested in. They feel like they're a cog in the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. Fred Flintstone days. Those days are over. So creating a welcome environment that first starts with your team, and then that trickles out into the output of their work, the leadership, like, them leading their teams, having space to be open and vulnerable. I know that sounds weird. There was a hot moment where bring your whole self, but nobody knew what that meant. It was like, bring your whole self, but not too much of yourself, right? But in reality, though, and I hated those conversations, though, by the way. I mean, listen, there was a moment where it was like, that was everybody's panel discussion or topic of conversation, but nobody ever landed on the fact that we're human first. Like, we're going to have emotions, and sometimes they come at work because work is half our lives. For some people, 3/4 of their lives. It sucks. So you're asking me to check myself over here, and in turn, everybody's going to have this isolated experience inside of a community. The workforce is a community. It's a community. It's the first community you build. Is your ecosystem is inside your company. Mm-hmm. Whether you're building it, whether you're part of it, it's a community. So holding space for people to be human, and when they need to be human, if they're having a bad day, like I came in here and I was like, I need a moment before we even interview, because I'm like, I know myself as a human. If I don't take a moment right now, it's my frustration, my stress is gonna come out on camera. So like, to have your team take a moment if they're asking for it. That in turn causes a ripple effect of belonging. Like, wow, like I matter here because my boss or my team or my fellow team member has given me space for me to be me, or to take what I need, or to express what I need. So that's the first thing, is like building a safe space. Even naming it is fine. This is a safe space. Today is right now in this moment. What do you need to say? What do you need to feel? Do you need a moment? Do you need to go to your car? The work will be there. It's not like you got 8 hours, sit down and do it for 8 hours. Like those days are dissolving, and companies need to understand that, and leaders need to understand that too.
Yeah, that is a good spin, good pivot to understand. And that is my last question is going to be the traditional question that we have. What conversation, in your opinion, is important for all of us as a society? What one conversation you wish we as a society would be having more today?
What does humanity mean to you? Because like we're in a place where people are ugly online. You can't even have, the sky is not blue anywhere. It is all like people will debate and have a conversation over the dumbest thing or the littlest thing or the biggest thing, but there's disagreement and there's division. It's a very divisive community right now. You cannot go on Instagram, you can't go on TikTok, you can't go on Yahoo, you can't read a news article. The comment section is an abomination. Like, it's awful. And so I can't express how many times I'm like, what is wrong with people? Like, I'm like, why? You know, there's a heartfelt story and somebody has something to say about it. So I invite people, you know, disregard political discourse. I know that's hard for people right now. But like, if you removed that piece, if you removed like the outside noise of what you're being told to feel and think, like, what does humanity mean to you? What does connectedness mean to you? What does it mean to bridge the divide and actually engage in dialogue, conversation, community with somebody that's different than you? Are you able to do that? Have this conversation with yourself. Can you step outside of yourself for a moment, for a day, to like sit in a room that is different than you, sitting in a group of people, to sit down with humans that are completely different than you and engage in a conversation that is not ignited? Can you just be a human? I think like those conversations need to happen now more than ever. Understanding that humanity is what will keep us together in a technologically advanced world, in a politically changing, ever evolving world. It's not going to be all Republican or all Democrat. Like, it's the pendulum swings. So we have to learn to get along. What does humanity mean to you?
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really is beautiful. It's like I keep thinking about this, and I think I mentioned it in a couple of podcasts at this point. It's almost like it's either we are going to make it together or we are going to break it together. There is no way out of it, but the togetherness,
well, I have a
wild
hope that, and especially, like I said, looking through the museum that I was in the other day, like, I have a wild hope that people prevail. That hope prevails. I mean, you've seen it generationally, across generations, that we've been through tougher things. We've been through world wars. And you've seen people prevail. You've seen community come together in devastation. In times of devastation, you see people come out with their food, their clothes, their medicines. Like, community matters. And I think that in times of great peril, humanity wins. Just full stop.
It does. It always does. Through all those centuries, millennials.
Yeah.
We'll make it work. Thank you so much for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining Connected Conversations. We'll see you next time. And I was going to say that this is not going to be about inspiration. This is going to be about how to do things so we can learn from Lisa Mae. But I am very inspired. So thank you again for all the work that you do, and thank you for moving the needle for all of us. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in into Connected Conversation. As we continue on our first year, we are incredibly inspired by the potential of positive change within our communities. We invite you to be a part of our conversation, and we invite you to be a part of our journey. Please subscribe to our podcast to stay updated on our latest episodes. Your support is incredibly invaluable. It will help us to grow our community. We also encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments of each episode. Your feedback will help us to create even more meaningful conversations. We can inspire the change and connect with each other one conversation at a time.